Robin, I've got to tell you this one. I've got to show up, talk about being a show off. I'm sorry, but I've got to tell you this one. There's a turf farm that came to one of my seminars, okay? And he comes up to me at the end of it. His name was John as well. He said, John, look, I've got a turf farm. I sell, well, first of all, he said, I sell grass. And I went, oh, well, I don't know about that. He said, no, the real grass, the front yard and the backyard. Okay, right.
The other grass.
Yeah, the old-fashioned grass, not the one you smoke. And so anyway, I visited him because he wasn't far away from the city I was in. And when I visited him, he was up in a mountain range, and we went into his office, and I said, how much turf, as in grass, do you have? And he said, as far as the eye can see across that mountain range, this way and that way. He must have had miles worth of grass. And I said, what's up? He said, it's a commodity. He said, it's a little bit like toilet paper. It's the same toilet paper. And in our instance, it's the same grass. It's not like a BMW grass and, there's a Toyota grass. It's pretty much turf farms have the same grass. I said, oh, okay. And he said, well, I'm up against all these other turf farms that are price discounting. If I'm $6 per square metre, they might drop their price to $5.50. So I've got to match it, and it's a race to the bottom. I said, okay. He said, well, have you got any of that incentive stuff, the Seinfeld stuff he saw, buy some grass and you get a free something? I said, okay. Who's your target audience? And he said, landscapers. He said, because they will buy 2 or 3 homes worth of grass. I said, okay. Well, what do you think landscapers, which are 99% men, would like? He said, I don't know. You tell me. I said, they like beer. Why don't we give them a case of beer when they get a home's worth of grass from you? And he said, do you think it'll work? I said, I think so, but why don't we give it a shot? So we put together a campaign, and we said to the landscapers via, email and snail mail, we sent out brochures to them because they're technophobes, a lot of them. And we just said, look, for every home's worth of grass you buy from us, then we will give you a case of beer. So it was exactly the same as the Building Society, exactly the same as a Happy Meal toy from McDonald's. He rings me up 4 days into the promotion and said, JD, we've got a problem, a big problem. I think, oh, did I forget something? What did I do? That's all I need, a complaining client again. And he says, we've got no more grass. I said, what? What? He said, 4 days into it.
That's not what it came to mind. I thought he ran out of beer.
Well, but it gets better. Wait for it. He said to me, I've run out of grass. He said, I'm sourcing grass from other competitive turf farms to keep up with the demand for the beer. I said, right, okay. The Happy Meal toy has taken over from the hamburger. I said, okay, right, okay. And he said to me, look, it gets better. He said, this guy called Tom was my biggest pain in the backside client. He's a landscaper, and he used to ring me all the time to say, listen, I'm not paying $6 per square metre for your grass. I can get it down the road for $5.50. And he said, I'd have to drop my price. And of course, it just went backwards and forth. He was a pain in the backside. He said he rang me 2 days after we sent this out and said, I need 18 homes worth of grass. I don't care when the grass gets here. I need the beer by Friday. I have a party. So that's when you can take their eyes. I mean, and he never had the price discount again because, whenever he wants to put a whole bucket load of, money in the bank, he just simply, rinses and repeats. And that's what happens when you give people a Happy Meal toy. You will find that will absolutely 100% every time take their eyes off the price. Why a car mechanic does not have a Happy Meal offer, such as, let me fix your car, let me give you a vehicle, a service, and we will wash it and vacuum it before we give it back to you. How easy would that be to get a 16-year-old kid to do that? Not one car mechanic in the world that I've ever come across ever value add. They just charge you a fortune to give you a grease and oil change and never think about washing the car.